Welcome to the session. Okay, today we will understand what is GCP. Okay, what are the data engineering services on GCP? What is that we are going to look throughout this course. Okay, so GCP is a cloud platform from Google. Okay, there are a lot of services on GCP which will help to create a infrastructure. What is this infrastructure for? This infrastructure is used to host applications. Like if there's a application that is developed in, okay, so what is the use of hosting an application? Let's say if I have a Java code or if I have a Python code, if I want to host the application, that means if I want to make the application live, I need an infrastructure. What does that infrastructure will have? It will have servers, load balancers, storage, network, auto scaling, firewalls, etc., etc. There will be at least around 20 or 30 services that we need to have to host an application. That means, in other words, we need a software and hardware to host application also. Like a server will have hardware like CPU, RAM, memory. It will have software like operating system, etc. Okay. Now, if I have to purchase software and hardware, obviously it's going to be cost for me. But if I choose GCP Cloud without spending any money, I can host the application. Okay. But I need to pay the money once I use the resources, maybe after a month or quarterly, whatever plan that I have or whatever agreement that I have with the GCP Cloud. Okay. First is that. Second, now, every company, data is very important for them for making some decisions, for generating insights of the customers, for understanding the patterns, to improve the business of a company, or to make proper data-backed decisions. Data is important for every organization. Now, data is growing for every company. Data is growing in, let's say, in terabytes in a day. Now, to store data is also become a problem. Now, GCP provides some solutions for companies to store unlimited data. Okay. And data could be in any format. It could be, data could be in structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data, any format we can store the data. So what we are majorly going to concentrate is how GCP helps to store and process the data. Okay. So what are the tools and services that GCP gives us? Now, throughout this course, first we'll understand. So if, let's say, even if I'm working on as a GCP data engineer, but there'll be expectation that you should know some basics about GCP, like how to work with GCP console, how to work with CLI, how to work with GCP virtual missions, app engines, etc. There'll be some basic understanding. So first we will look into basic services of GCP, and then we'll go into data services. So when I say data services, the first and foremost we will learn about storing data. That is, to store data on GCP, there are multiple options. One of the options is called as GCP buckets. We'll understand how to create GCP buckets, how to store data on GCP buckets, and we'll do a couple of operations like limited, like how to secure buckets, okay, how to host websites on that, how to give public access, how to give private access, how to enable ACLs, etc. We'll learn on GCP buckets. Now, what kind of data I can store on GCP buckets? So if I broadly classify data, right, there are multiple, you can divide them into structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data. Now, what is the structured data? Structured data, you have data in tables. What will be there in tables? Rows and columns. Okay, our data is stored in rows and columns. Okay, this is the structured data where data is well organized, where there is a schema. Okay, we mentioned the schema, and then data is there in form of a rows and columns. That is in form of a tables. Now, what is the next one? Next one is called as unstructured data. Now, what is this unstructured data? Like videos. Now, those videos, can I put in something like a rows and columns or tables? Images, normal text, PDF files, all this what? Unstructured data. That means what? There is no schema. It's not there in any table. So, in a company, if you take, most data would be unstructured or structured. So mostly data would be unstructured. If 80% of the data is unstructured, only 20% or 15% of data is structured. Rest all is unstructured. As a data engineer, we'll be working on structured data also, unstructured data also, semi-structured data also. Okay. What is a semi-structured data? Like something like a JSON document where there is some structure, but it is flexible. Okay. Where data is having some structure, but it is flexible. That is nothing but a semi-structured data. Okay. Now, as a data engineer, we'll work with all these three types of data. And on Azure, there are a lot of storage solutions. But if I don't know what type of data I'm having, and if I want to store, one of the solutions is that I can store on GCP buckets. I can store tables like CSV tables in the form of CSV files inside a GCP buckets. I can store any of this inside GCP buckets. I can store JSON documents. Any type of data I can store on GCP buckets. Okay. So I'm not going into complete details about buckets today. What I'm going to teach you is what all topics we are going to look in GCP data engineering and why we have to learn that particular topic. Okay. One is GCP buckets. Now let's say I have only structured data. Okay. I want to store only structured data. Then where would I store? GCP has a service called as Cloud SQL. Okay. What is Cloud SQL? Cloud SQL is a service that is used to create a relational database on GCP. Okay. One of the options, there are other options. One of the option is Cloud SQL. If you want to create a relational database on GCP, we have an option called as Cloud SQL. So on this, we will see how to create Cloud SQL. We'll see how to take snapshots. We will see how to create tables. We'll see how to query the data from this database. Okay. So first of all, I mean, I assume that most of you guys know writing SQL queries. So we'll see basic, we'll not go in depth into SQL queries. The understanding is that we'll create databases and understand how the Cloud SQL databases will work. Okay. Just give me a minute. Okay. And next, we will see something called as Cloud Google. Okay. So this will be the one of the service that we'll discuss extensively. We'll do approximately around 8 to 9 hands-on labs of this. Now, what is Google BigQuery? It is a data warehouse. Okay. So before we discuss Google BigQuery, we'll have a couple of topics on data warehouse. Like what is a data warehouse? That means what is a OLAP systems. We'll understand what is OLAP. We'll understand what is the need of a data warehouse. We'll understand what are the dimension tables, fact tables, what are the snowflake schema, star schema, couple of basics on data warehouse, and we will start learning about Google BigQuery. So in Google BigQuery, we'll do basically like data manipulation. We will see how to query and advance queries on Google BigQuery. We'll learn about performance optimization. Okay, and we will see how to integrate BigQuery with other services. Like on Google only, we have Google Storage, Google Cloud SQL, data flow, data prep, data prop. There are a lot of other services on GCP. So we will see how BigQuery can be integrated with other services like PubSub, data flow, etc. Okay, that is what we will learn on. See, these are the overview topics. There are a lot of other small topics that we are going to learn. Okay. Because if you're going for interviews, this is one of the major things that they'll ask in interview. Have you worked on GCP BigQuery? What work you have done on GCP BigQuery? How to ingest data to BigQuery? How to create tables on BigQuery? How to query the data on BigQuery? How to improve the performance of BigQuery? All these things they'll ask in an interview. Okay, this is one of the major concepts. Okay, that is the reason we are covering that early. So next is we will discuss about okay, we'll discuss about cloud data flow. Okay, what is data flow? In simple, I can say that configuring data pipelines. Okay, configuring data pipelines by using a service called as data flow, where we can do some transformations to the data. Okay, we'll at least do around 5 to 6 pipelines here. Okay. We'll at least learn about 5 to 6 pipelines by using data flow. Okay, next we will learn about data prep. This is basically a codeless ETL tool from GCP. Okay, this is actually without writing. When we want to transfer the data, transform the data by using PySpark, we have to write code, right? Same things we can achieve on GCP with the help of data prep, even without writing one line of code. But you might have to write little Python scripts. Okay, let's say like regular expressions on Python. We might have to write that for some transformations, but most of the transformations you can do without writing any code. We will do a couple of transformations by using data prep. And next we will learn about data proc. What is data proc? Now let's say I want to run PySpark code. Okay, if I want to run a PySpark code, first of all, I need an infrastructure for me to run PySpark. Okay, but what Google is doing, or even let's say a couple of Databricks. Let's say if I want to run PySpark code, first of all, I have to create Databricks. No? So that is not free of cost for me. That is costing me. It consumes some compute power and all. But what GCP is doing, it is giving us a service called as data prop. Okay, it will ask you what is your PySpark code, give it to me. So I can give the PySpark code. It will ask me on which file, on what is the data that I want to run. If I give the data, so it will automatically run and give the output for us. Okay, for this, first of all, you need to know PySpark. Okay, we'll learn a couple of things like RDDs, data frames, doing some transformations. For people, PySpark, it is not covered, right? So we will do a couple of transformations on PySpark, and then we'll understand how to run the PySpark code by using data proc. Okay, and then we will learn something called as Google pops up. You are unable to hear. Hey guys who are there online, can you all guys hear me?
I can hear me, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Hey, Ranjit, everybody is able to hear me. Is it possible for you to rejoin, drop in the join again, or else see your mic or sorry, speaker, whether it's working or not? Okay, we will learn about pops up. Now, what is pops up? So, have you guys heard any technology called as Kafka? So, what did he do? There is something called as subscribers and publishers. So, it will take the data from one tier to another tier, or from one application to another application. So, GCP has a similar tech stack called as Google pops up. Okay, with this we can publish messages to subscribers by using this pops up. So we'll understand more about that once we do some hands-on. So this is also this is not very important topic for a data engineer, but we'll also learn about GCP pops up. Okay, next we have ML by using GCP. Okay, so nowadays when people go for GCP data engineering interviews, they're also asking about a couple of ML services that is there on GCP. Okay, like BigQuery, BigQuery ML, Vertex AI. Okay, they're also asking about BigQuery ML and Vertex AI. So what we'll learn here is, so Vertex AI is end-to-end deployment of ML algorithms. Okay, so what we learn, we'll quickly explain in a couple of sessions what is a ML means, what are a couple of algorithms. We'll teach 2 or 3 algorithms, and we will show you guys how to use BigQuery ML to run those algorithms. Okay, that we'll cover in BigQuery ML. Now there is something called as Vertex AI. Trust me, this application is becoming so famous. If you don't know anything in this world, if you know how to use Vertex AI, you can get a job easily for 15 to 20 lakhs. Okay, what this tool will do, let's say a data scientist has developed a machine learning model. Okay, as soon as he develop, will he get any ROI on that model? When a data scientist will be generating revenue from the model that they have developed. They will generate once that model goes into the production. Okay. Now, Vertex A is one tool which will help us to take data science models into production, not only taking them into production, monitoring, understanding the performance of the data science model. Okay. So here, we will teach you basics of Vertex AI. Okay. And I will give you some self-learning models of how to deploy a model by using Vertex AI, because that itself will take about 7 to 8 hours. Okay, we'll give you hands-on documents and we'll give you a self-learning model, because this is Vertex AI is not part of GCP Data Engineering. It's part of GCP Data Science course. Okay, but when people are going for interviews for data engineering, they are asking nowadays, do you have knowledge on Vertex AI? Okay, that's the only reason I have included this course, giving you some basics and showing some hands-on exercise on Vertex AI. But if you want to learn in depth about that, I will give you some self-learning modules with hands-on documents that you can go through that. Okay, that is what we are going to learn on ML on GCP. So here we'll teach you basics of ML as well. Okay.
Basically, Vertex AI is used for deployment purpose, right? For AI ML model.
The next will be data lake and delta lake on GCP. Okay, so what is a data lake? It is called as big lake. So this is nothing but a delta lake on GCP. So we'll understand once we comes there, what is a data lake, what is a delta lake, how to create a data lake and delta lake on GCP. And we'll look into data governance on GCP. Now let's say what is data governance. Now let's say I created some data warehouse. Okay, now data warehouse or have customers table. In the customer table, there is first name, last name, phone number, credit card information, pin code, etc., etc. Now, if there are 100 data entries, everybody can see the customer credit card number, right? I don't want that to happen. I want to implement some governance on the data. How to do that? We will see in that data governance on GCP. Okay. And we will see some advanced topics like data ops on GCP. Okay. So data ops is that what are the basic operations and advanced operations that we do on GCP. That means here also taking data on live. There's something called as data versioning, data drift. We'll discuss about that in data ops. So this is also this topic is also there in trending. So these are the buzzwords in the industry now: data versioning, data drift. Okay, so those things I'll teach you on data ops on GCP, and we will learn something called as data studio. So what is data studio? This is a visualization tool. Okay, like you guys have Power BI, Tableau, Matplotlib, Seaborn. So by using those tools, we can generate some graphs. Similarly, Azure Studio also you can do the same thing. Azure Studio is very economical when we compare with any other visualization tools. Okay, like Power BI, Tableau, etc., etc. QuickSight. Azure Studio is very economical, and so it's not like we're going to go in depth of everything about visualization. What you can expect is that we will have that, we will do some transformations for the data, right? So the transformed data, we will take into the GCP Google Studio, and we will see how to do a basic plots like pie chart, bar chart, line chart, couple of things. How to do that, I'll show in that data studio. Okay. And then we will see building ETL pipelines. And then I'll give you 2 project case studies. Okay, so those are the real-time projects that I have done. So we'll give you the documentation of that case studies, like what are the data sources, from where the data is coming, what is the business problem that we are solving, what is the architecture that is designed to solve that particular problem. Okay, I'll give you those documentation and explain the project. So it is not that we are going to do the hands-on exercise of that project. I'll explain that project so that in the interviews you guys can say that it's similar kind of project that we have worked. Okay, and I'll give you one similar project, like what case study that we discussed, right? Similar problem statement, I'll give you one. So this capstone project, my expectation is that you guys have to do it. Okay, if you face any problem, we'll give you the documentation so that you can solve that particular problem. Okay, these are the different topics which is there part of GCP that we'll see throughout this particular course. So where you guys have to put your focus to get a job, one is Google BigQuery. So if you want to be good on Google BigQuery, there's a prerequisite. The prerequisite is SQL, because BigQuery is a data warehouse. What will be there in a data warehouse? There will be tables. So you need to know how to manipulate the tables. Okay, that we will do. Okay.
Yes.
Now you also asked what is Google PubSub. So Google PubSub is basically PubSub. Pub means publish, sub means subscriber. Okay. So now there is something called as real-time processing of data. So to do the real-time processing of data, Google uses a service called as what is that? Google Cloud PubSub. Okay. So basically, it is like communication between different parts of an application. Now, let's say, let's take a Flipkart as an application. Now, Flipkart has one part, login is one part, payment is one part, right? So if both these parts, if there should be some communication, there should be some messages flowing from one service to another service. So how we can configure that communication is by using PubSub. Okay, now by next class, everybody has to create your GCP account. Okay, all that you need to do is go to GCP platform. Okay, or else just type in Google GCP free. Okay, Google Cloud for free. They'll give you around $200 something. Okay, now once you go here, you see there will be top, there's something called as console. So now this is my GCP console. Now if I click on the
Sir, can you share the screen and show it, sir?
I'm sharing the screen, no?
No, sir, it is not visible like the previously in which you have explained in the notepad, it is showing, sir.
Okay, one moment. Okay, can you see my console now?
Sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So now this is the GCP console. So now how did I reach here? Now for you guys, if you want to create a free account, go to Google, say free account. Free account, say GCP. Okay, it'll come like this. Okay, see, I already have it. So what I can do is that I will go to incognito mode. Okay, you can click on this. Okay, you can say start free, or if you already have some Gmail account, you can just click on sign in. So it will ask you a few questions like your name, first name, last name, email address, etc., etc. It will ask you for card details. You have to give your card. Okay, and then it will give you $200 for free. So the $200 we can use for practice. Now you see, this is once you log in, this is how the console will look like. If anybody faces issues creating an account, we'll help you with that. Provided you have your card, we will not give you our GCP account. You have to create your own account. You need to have a card for yourself. All right, now if you see on the left, you will see here all the services that GCP is offering you, like for billing related. Okay, all the services related to billing, APIs, security users. Now let's say we are more concerned with GC. BigQuery is one service. So now these are all the things I can do with BigQuery. Now if I click on the BigQuery Studio, see this some default data sets GCP has given for us to do. We can create table, we can share a couple of activities. We'll see all that later. I wanted to show you guys Vertex AI because you have asked question on that. If I don't know where is this, right, I can simply come here and search for this. So what is this Vertex AI? It empowers machine learning developers, data scientists, and data engineers to take their projects from ideation to deployment. That means taking from development to the deployment at effectively. So there are a lot of things we can prepare the data. Prepare the data means what? Doing some transformations, doing some data labeling. On data scientist, there is something called as feature engineering. That means we can create something called as feature store here. Model deployment, deploy. So these are the 3 steps. Okay, so this complete Vertex AI is there like this. So similar tools like that on AWS, there is something called as SageMaker. On Azure, there is something called as Azure ML. Okay, open source tools are also there. Something called as ML Flow, which is an open source tool, which will also do the same thing. But if I have to use ML Flow, I need to create my own infrastructure. But Vertex AI infrastructure is already there. So you see model deployment, I can create a model garden. I can do the training of the models. What is the training of the models? That means I need to, if there is a data science model, I need to train the model with my data set. Okay. And experiment whether it is giving a right proper results or not. All these things, I don't want to go in detail. All these things we can do with this. And now let's say I want to run some scripts. I want to do some, run some commands. Okay. Here, all this UI, right? I have to go click on this. But if I want to run some commands, GCP gives inbuilt CLI where I can run the commands. You see on the top, there's a box which is having a symbol like shell. If I click on this, it is provisioning a cloud shell mission and it will give a prompt. From there, we can run all the CLI commands. It will take a moment. It will take a moment for it to be created. While that is creating, let me open this in new tab. Now you see here, there is project here, right? So the project is the first and foremost thing that we create once we open account with GCP. So in a company, there could be multiple projects, right? Let's say I'm working with 4 projects. So I can create 4 projects here. And if I'm using Cloud SQL in my project, one for some company called as X, I need to go in this one. Okay, I can create multiple projects. So by default, when you create a GCP account, it will give you some default project. Okay, you can use that project, or else you can create a new project and start working with that. To create new project, there's an option on the top, my new project. You have to give a project name. You have to give org name, organization name, and the location, and your new project is created. Okay. Now you see here, the CLI is also created here. So what is the CLI name? Selvan Coco something, right? What is this? If I go here, project, you see this is the project. This is a project ID. So that means now I'm there in this project ID. If we want, we can change that. We will see that later how to change it. Okay. So all the, if I want to write the code, develop the code here itself, you see there's something called as editor. An editor, shell editor will open here itself, like our IDEs. One of the, it is integrated with the editor. And you see it looks something like Visual Studio Code. Okay, you can install the plugins, you can develop the code here itself, and then run the code. Okay, it is very easy with GCP. All right. Now, let's say I told you about storage, right? You see there is something called the storage buckets. If I click here, we can work with the storage. Because I have multiple projects, it is showing multiple projects. So in whichever project you want to create a storage bucket, you can create a storage bucket there. Okay, similarly, there are a lot of other services that you will use. Here, if you want to see view all, we can click on view all products. Okay, now you see we have everything here: compute, storage, analytics. If I click on analytics, you see there are services like BigQuery, PubSub, data flow. Yeah, I forgot to tell you about one more service. We'll also learn about Cloud Composure. Cloud Composure is a workflow tool. There's an open source tool called as Airflow. Okay, that means, let's say task 1 is there. After finishing task 1, I want to do task 2. After finishing task 2, I want to do task 3. Now, if you want to establish that, so after finishing task 1, there should be some manual intervention, but I don't want to do that. I want a workflow automation tool to do that. So there's an open source tool called as Airflow. Okay, the adaptation of Airflow on GCP is called as Cloud Composure. Okay, so we'll basically see here how to create something called as DAX. That means workflow we create with the help of DAX. So we'll create task 1, task 2, task 3. We'll run that workflow. Once it finishes task 1, it should go to task 2. Once it finishes task 2, it should go to task 3. So if a task 2 fails, it will retry. So we can also give how many times it has to retry. So that one we'll learn about Cloud Composure. That one I missed here. That service is called as Cloud Composure. Okay, next, Dataproc. I told you what is Dataproc. If you want to run PySpark code on GCP, we can use Dataproc. Dataprep is a codeless ETL tool. Okay, there is for pipelines we have Data Fusion also, Data Flow also. We will see Data Fusion also, a couple of pipelines. Okay, RESTful, Apache Kafka adaptation, data catalog. We'll look into Studio also. So these are the analytics services that we will be learning throughout the course. Now, if we see, all the services are divided into compute. If you want to create a server, you have these many options. Okay, if you want to create a storage, I will store data. You have these many options. Okay, with analytics, these many options are there. Now for networking, there is, so we'll also look into basics of networking, because now let's say you created something called as a BigQuery and you want that to be there in a secured network. If you don't know about networking on GCP, you'll not be able to do that. So we'll have a couple of sessions on networking and serverless options. So we'll not go into the serverless because that is majorly for developers. Okay. And the databases. So we will work with SQL database. We'll work with file store database. We'll work with data store. We'll work with spanner. We'll work with the BigQuery table. Actually, we'll also work with memory store. Okay, these are the different databases that we'll understand. So what is this? One is a relational database. One is a NoSQL database. One is a in-memory database. Okay, there are different databases. So these different databases, we'll understand them. So these are the services that are related for operations. That means managing the services, monitoring them, etc., etc., is under operations. Security related services, and these are related with CI/CD. That means about DevOps operations. How to make sure that code is deployed onto the some server or some infrastructure. Now there is artificial intelligence services. One of them that we're going to look is called as Vertex AI. There are other things that we will not look into. There are integration. There are different. So Google has, if you want to develop an application to deploy that, to manage that, okay, whatever software and hardware that you need, GCP is providing everything as a service. Now I can choose what I need, and GCP will charge me only for that particular services that I have used and how much time I have used. Okay. So by next class, I want everybody to create the account. We will look into the first topic. So first we'll look into basics of GCP, like how to create virtual machines, how to go through this console, and then we'll finish with GCP storage in the next class. Next class would be tomorrow. We'll finish with the GCP storage, and then we'll look into one by one service. All right. We'll do the first topic tomorrow, which is GCP storage, and we will do the hands-on exercises on that. Thank you. Take care.